welcome to the Sanctuary, a safe space to speak from the heart. I'm your host, Israel, and my guest is someone I think this has been 3 years in the making since 2019. I've been trying to get this to happen, and then you're just so busy. You had the retreats, yoga every day, and then COVID happened, and now I'm like, okay, wait, I can do this virtual thing. Let's make it happen. So, Stefanie Winters, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I know it's been a long time. We did that first little shoot test thing in Bedford. Yeah, you're probably right. It's 3 years
Yep.
ago.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good.
So I'm just, before we go way back, let's go like just to last year, February, so I think you usually like put up a post about the yoga retreat happening like just as winter is winding down. And, it was kind of getting to that time. COVID hit. What happened? How did you handle that?
Yeah, we were supposed to go to Honduras. We had it all booked, full, more than 20 people, and then COVID happened, and all the studios got shut down.
Mm,
So that was pretty scary right away, when it kind of all happened over the course of a weekend. I remember on a Friday talking to my at the time manager and friend Emily, and we were talking about how we were going to deal with COVID in the studios, and we were spraying down the bolsters with the blocks and the mats with all of this disinfectant. And I was just watching it and watching the I was watching the mist of the spray land on the bolster and like not really coat it or cover it. And I was just like, I don't know if this is gonna work. and, and then by Monday, just like, everyone was super scared and closing down. And that was when we decided, or the studio decided to make the call to shut down. So I
mm.
remember posting on my Instagram to my students and followers, just being like, not really understanding what was going on, and being like, I can take small groups in my basement if anyone wants to still practice with me. I'm going to be really bored. I usually teach like 20 classes a week.
Mm.
So someone responded and said, could you do some online classes? Could you post some online classes? So that was kind of where it all started.
Mm. So, what I like about your classes is this evolution. And it's, like you can actually study it as a class because you started like with phones and now you have this platform now. Walk me through that.
Walk you through it. Okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
when the first person said, you should put it up online, I had no idea. I don't think I had ever done even a Facebook or Instagram live. I might have done like, a 1 minute one or something. I'm not sure, but I don't think I had.
Mm,
So I had to figure that out, and I posted that I was going to do it, that I started a separate like private Instagram account
mm-hmm.
and asked people if they wanted to do it. And I think within the first day, I had 90 people sign up and send me
Wow.
e-transfers. So that was what I was
Wow.
doing in the beginning, just accepting e-transfers and
Yeah.
putting everyone on my private page. And then I did my first live the next day. So
Mm-hmm.
I started just doing Facebook Live, or sorry, Instagram Lives, and so it would stay up for 24 hours and then it would fall off, and the classes were just kind of disappearing. And
Mm.
someone was like, "Are you doing all that work and not recording those classes in another way?" Like, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's a good idea." Um, so then I went out and bought like I asked a whole bunch of video people. I have some contacts in my Instagram and stuff, people who do video, and I asked them sort of what I should buy. And the
Mm-hmm.
problem is that I need an hour long clip, right? If recording an hour long classes. So I couldn't really go with, because I had no video editing skills at the time, period. So I couldn't really go with like a GoPro or like a nice, I have a nice camera. I have a Canon, like a really nice Canon. It will only do half an
40
hour clips at a
minutes.
time, right?
Yeah.
Or something like
Yeah.
that, 35 minutes or something. So I bought a camcorder. It's like $230 and it works beautifully. I've been using it the entire year. I have all of my classes now saved on hard drives, like 500 and some of them, and they're all posted on my new site as well. So Instagram did work really well until with glitches, obviously, here and there, as
Hmm.
probably everyone experiences with Insta lately. But it worked really well until about a couple of months ago. It started trying to lock me out of my account all the time. I just noticed there's been a lot of changes with Instagram lately, and they
Oh.
don't like it when you have two accounts joined and you switch back and forth between the two a lot. So it kept locking me out of my account, which was
Oh.
giving me mini heart attacks like every day. So I had actually purchased this online platform back in June when I started it, but I never switched everything over because the small problem with the online platform, and they are figuring it out, is that there's no actual internal communication. So I can't talk to my students within it. Like they can't comment on the
Oh.
classes or whatever. So it kind of takes away that community element. They are
Hmm.
working on that, and it is coming. But that was why I hesitated for so long to switch over. So
Hmm.
I had it purchased, and it was quite a large sum of money in June, and I didn't actually make the full switch over until January of this year. So last June
Is it
of
like a monthly
2020.
thing, or
Um,
how
I
do you
pay
pay
for it
for
for a
it?
year.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and then students pay for it yearly or monthly. But
Okay.
it's much less stressful to me now because it's not the threat that I'm going to not be able to get into my account or it's going to get shut down for no reason.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So now I'm on
S-
there.
and like well, so I'm a student. How do I access it, and what do I get?
So you can access it through either my website, which is Stephanie Winters Yoga, or sorry, wintersyoga.com, just
Hmm.
wintersyoga.com, or my Instagram, which is Stephanie Winters Yoga. So the link is there to go to. It's actually called NamaStream. So it's a site that tons and tons of other yoga studios use.
Okay.
And you can go to, like I said, through my Instagram or my website to find me because the URL is just kind of confusing and long. But the yeah,
Okay.
the students they get the 500 class and growing library, which is already there. So
Oh, so I can go back, whatever. Is it like categorized, or it's just like
it
a,
is. Yeah, so
oh,
there's lots of
nice.
different tags. There's so the style would be tagged. So vinyasa, which would be like a flow class. I do sort of back to basics series. I did a slow and steady series. So those are more for beginners. Integration would be in there as well. So there's three series that would be in there. And then I
Hmm.
continue to post regular flows, and I do something called a ladder, which there are some students that really, really like that. It's sort of a little more challenging cardiovascular. And then, so they're all broken up into categories. And I also do restorative and yin. And then they're also broken up into time categories. So they go from 10 minutes to an hour.
Oh.
There's like tons of
Hmm.
selection for whatever you'd want. That's what the people that really love it, that seems to be what they really like, is that they're not just going to a studio, showing up to a class and getting whatever the teacher wants to give them that day.
Mm.
They're getting what their body needs. So there's a
Wait,
description under the class. It tells you what you're going to work.
with the 500 videos, is that it? Are you still creating stuff?
No, I am still creating.
Oh my
So
god.
I'm still releasing definitely one class Monday to Saturday, two on
Wait, wait,
Friday.
wait.
And
Is that
then
every day? One class every
at
day?
least one class a day. And then usually there's another three to that a week. So
So
there's,
like
it
10
depends on
classes
how
a
creative
week.
I'm feeling.
How do you create the classes though? Like, what happens? Like, do you just like get a vibe or what?
Well, I mean, I take a ton of inspiration from other teachers, so I never sort of don't express that. I think I'm pretty clear about how many I often post in my stories about other teachers that are inspiring me. And I mean, I might not name it every single time a move comes from somewhere, but a lot of what I'm using has come from somewhere else, and I'm just kind of reweaving it in my own special way. I also
Mm-hmm.
borrow from a lot of other movement disciplines, so not just yoga.
Mm.
I was a personal trainer first before a yogi, so that sort of strength and conditioning background informs my yoga teaching a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm also bringing in a lot of like mobility and strength and just sort of body movements from other disciplines all the time. So
Mm.
it's been a real creative process for me. I think that I'm sure there will be a time when I sort of start to feel a little drier creatively,
Mm-hmm.
creatively with this all. But right now, I'm still having a lot of fun with it. I'm still learning. I'm still creating. I'm still sort of every class usually kind of sparks something different and makes another connection for me. And I can go from that pose to here. I can add this in, or this makes sense with that, or we still need to work on strengthening this area of the body. I, draw a lot from my own personal experiences of having some issues in my movement pattern and in my body, that have been ongoing for a really long time. So I like to try to kind of consider what my students might be dealing with
Mm-hmm.
physically, and kind of try to make sure that there's, like I said, something for everyone there.
Mm. Wow. Wow. Over 500 classes and you're still creating every day. That's just, and like, I mean, I guess it's good that you love it. So let's rewind, go way back. You mentioned just a couple of, just a while ago that you actually had a background in strength training before you decided to switch to yoga. How did you get into strength training and what made you decide to start yoga too?
Well, growing up, my parents were both very heavily involved in strength training. Both of them were bodybuilders who competed at one point in time.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so I mean, I just grew up with a very like strong health and fitness background. I actually went to university for history and took 8 years of university and minored in English and majored in history.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then dropped out abruptly and had my son who is now 13.
Yeah.
And then I started personal training because I was just like, what do I love, what can I pick up quickly right now and just sort of go with,
Mm,
um when he was going off to daycare. And so that's where it started. I started personal training, and that was kind of hard on my body. And like you're just going all day long, like hour after hour after hour. You're depending on people showing up. A lot of people do cancel for personal training.
mm,
So that was frustrating me. So I was like, what else can I do? What else can I add to this? And um, I was just starting to practice yoga actually when
mm,
I got a full certification in teaching it. I think I was actually, I won't lie, I was teaching it before I was certified. And it's not technically illegal when you have a personal training certification. So
mm-hmm,
I was actually teaching before I even got certified. And then I decided it would make more sense in my life because if a class is on a schedule, the class is going to run because someone's going to show up. So that was like limiting my frustration. And then
mm,
also, I got to be in my body. And then, of course, yoga then kind of got my heart because there's a whole lot more to it than just being in your body, as I'm
mm-hmm.
sure you probably know. And it took me on a whole nother journey of self-discovery from there. So it's yeah, it's something I do really, really love. Love
Mm.
offering, love doing, love teaching, love exploring.
What did that self-discovery journey involve for you?
Uh, for me, just letting go of the lie that I wasn't worthy or lovable in my life. That was that very first training that we did. I did it in Hawaii with Baron Baptiste, and it was all about discovering the lies that you tell about yourself to the world. So just getting to the bottom of how you see yourself,
Mm,
where that might have come from childhood, what experiences may have shaped that, and then just kind
mm,
of trying to backtrack, unravel, reweave, understand your value, look at what you are good at and what you do offer to the world, and then go from
mm-hmm.
there.
Wow. And I mean, you offer a lot. So, you did that training. How did you, I guess, actually start coaching? Like, did the place you were working as a personal trainer have like a yoga studio or what happened?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, I actually worked at the Tower, which was where I was personal training. So my boss at the time, Sandra Jameson, asked if I wanted to teach yoga, and that was where I started. So I I taught there. It was really kind of funny. I taught in the squash courts, and I taught
Oh,
two squash players. Actually, it was 6 a.m. It was my first class was a 6 a.m. class. I do not teach 6 a.m. anymore and never will again.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I
I was
did
just
do it
about to
4
like,
years. I put
who
in my
wakes up
time.
that?
Yeah.
Who wakes up
And
that
but
early?
it was actually perfect because I didn't know what I was doing and they didn't know what I was doing. None of them were yogis. So it was a really beautiful, like gentle way of like
Mm,
learning how to teach yoga.
mm.
And no one was, you know, really overly critical of me at the time. I didn't hurt anyone, so that's
Yeah,
good. And then
yeah.
I went to the Baron Baptiste training. I came back. I had trained before Baron with this woman named Coeli Marsh, who had been Baron's right hand woman when she's from Boston, when he was just starting out. So she was the one who told me to go train with Baron. And then when I got back, she had connections with someone else in the city who where Baptiste yoga was taught. So then I went and taught there for quite a few years, and
Mm,
then just started expanding out and teaching at other studios as well.
mm. Um, like, so you teach at studios. Was there a point where you thought, I should start my own studio? Because, you have all these people that love your teaching and always want like to come to your classes. Did you ever get a point you were like, okay, I should just start my own studio, winter's yoga, whatever you want to call it?
I've had lots of people ask me over the years if I was going to start my own studio and if I wanted to. It was never a desire for me at that time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like this huge job. And it also, heard lots of studio owners say, if you love yoga and you want to continue to teach yoga, don't open a studio because you won't. Like that's not what they're doing, right? They might teach a class or two a week, but they're behind the
Yeah.
scenes running the studio, making sure that people are showing up for classes, making sure people's
Mm.
accounts are sorted, you know. So I still kind of wrestle with that. It's still something that I think about. I don't know. My lifestyle is really pretty sweet right now. So, I
But
mean,
you kind of have your own studio now, though, right?
I kind of do. Yeah, I have an online studio right now. So, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know where this will go, the potential. I'm not closing any doors. That's still something that I think about daily, I won't lie, but then I also think about how it's not something I want daily. So I kind of bounce back
Mm,
and forth.
mm.
I think that it would have to be something that I'd go into with someone else who's, you know, I
Oh.
have noticed that I am more business minded than I thought in this whole endeavor, and that has really been opening up. But I think that I would want someone who was even more business minded than me as a
Yeah,
partner.
yeah, yeah.
So that,
The
you
person
know,
that'll handle all the admin stuff and make sure all the
yeah.
numbers make sense.
Yeah. And I mean marketing and promotion and just everything, right? People who own studios and do it well, they impress me. It's a huge lot of work and effort. And I work with, you know, work with and for some really amazing ladies that do that. So
Mm.
it's really pretty impressive.
Um, so, I mean, there are people that, have this crazy yoga practice, right? They do more than 2 times a week and stuff, but then they still go on the retreat. Like, what is the advantage of going on a retreat? Is it like, okay, you're just in a cool place like Honduras or, somewhere down south when it's freaking cold here?
People who do yoga frequently fall in love with yoga. Like they fall in love with what yoga offers them. A retreat is immersive, you know, you're going away, yes, to a beautiful location. That is part of it, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, being with a group of like-minded individuals, you know, every single retreat that I've ever been on and helped lead has had this energy and vibe that's been different. The group makes it this amazing experience, and each
Mm,
group is different. The community element is huge. And then, like I said, being with people who are like-minded, who are interested in the same things. Because if you're a yogi, very often, you know, you can see eye to eye on a lot of things. You live your life in a similar way. You
mm,
enjoy doing different things, experiencing things in a similar way. You know, you're more
mm,
present. maybe the conversations are super in depth. And this isn't just yogis, this is mindful, conscious people, right? People who are, interested in their growth and their transformation just in general. And that's not just a yogi, but very
Mhm.
often yogis are. So I think that's also a draw, especially when you're in a somewhat small city and you don't necessarily meet a lot of people in a small city. It's kind of hard to open up those groups, right? If you go away on a retreat with a whole bunch of other people, those people leave friends. Like they stay connected. It's really cool. I have all the people on Instagram and I see how they've stayed connected, reposting like birthdays, still hanging out, still seeing one another, still liking each other's photos. You have that connection
Mhm.
forever, even if, the person was from Calgary and you were from Halifax, because I see that.
Mhm.
It's really cool.
So I'm a student. I This is before COVID or after COVID. I see the post for a retreat. I sign up. What happens from there till I get back to Halifax?
Well, I mean, you're going to travel by yourself in this any every instance that we've had,
Hmm.
that I've experienced. You travel by yourself to get there, but usually there's some help in trying to figure out the routes and where to stay and that sort of thing, because it can be kind of scary, right? Like we are traveling to Central America, and that's I think Central America is where every one of them I have been on has been. Yeah. Um, some other ones that of the studio that I was working for before were ran in Europe and that sort of thing. So that can be a really big deal. Some of these people that are going on retreats with me, it was their first time traveling like that, which is really cool. Like it's
Wow.
really special. So then once you get there, we usually have a little meet and greet the first night, learn about people, and then just every day it's wake up. We don't wake up super early. We don't like to push
Not 6
people and that
a.m.
kind of route. No, right? Like it's your vacation too. So
Yeah.
in my mind, and different people have different opinions about this, but in my mind, it's still someone's vacation. It might be the
Yeah.
only week the entire year that they have off. If they want to get up early, the beach is
Mm.
usually right there. Like you walk down 5, 10 minutes away, you can get up and go for like a sunrise swim if you want to, right? And then, go have something light to eat, yoga. You have free time usually. There's like after the first yoga, you can go off until supper time if you want to. Sometimes we include lunch, sometimes we don't. It depends on the destination.
Hmm.
But usually people hang out. That's the cool thing. So usually you're there with a whole bunch of people and people wander and explore and go to the beaches. And usually we're near a town,
Mm.
local culture, and then come back, eat again, second yoga twice
Mm.
a day, and then hang out. Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
it's pretty
Yeah, you're
chill.
right. Because I just remembered now, just came to my mind. A friend of mine actually got the job they love from someone they met at a retreat. So you're
Ah,
right. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah. I
awesome.
just remembered that now. So, now, I mean, apart from, I guess, there's this whole uh idea that people have to create, especially when the first shutdown happened. You kind of jumped into it because of a suggestion of someone made. But say, you weren't creating classes and you didn't have people coming to your basement, how would you have spent those first few weeks
Uh,
of lockdown?
I'm not sure. I am so grateful for this having happened because
Mm,
everyone that took part in that the first few months and, especially during the 3 months of lockdown,
mhm,
uh, they kept saying, you're my lifeline right now. This is the steadiness I need. It's the thing I look forward to. And I'm like, yeah, same, same. Like, this is the only thing keeping me going right now.
mm.
My boyfriend actually works offshore sometimes, and he was away when it all happened. He was offshore Newfoundland for the first month and a half of
So he couldn't
lockdowns.
come back. Like, did he have to stay on his boat, ship, whatever?
It was pretty stressful. He was on the boat when it first happened. So they're out there. They only have CNN and people calling, and they're like, I remember him calling me one day and being like, "What? You guys don't have toilet paper? Go fill up the car with gas so you can get out of town if you need to." I was like, okay. I don't think it's as bad as it's sounding out there. But they were, on an oil rig, you can only keep people for so long. They were getting nervous because they weren't sure if they're going to be able to bring people back and forth. So they actually took them, the guys, the rotation that was on, they took them off, put them in an Airbnb on Newfoundland to take them off the oil rig so they could put them back on. So
Mm.
this was like we didn't know when he was coming home at this point, and at the time it's like we don't really know if the world is shutting down. So if he has work, he's going to keep working. And so he did end up coming home shortly after the trip onshore with Newfoundland, but
Mm.
it was kind of scary. I was by myself with my son.
Mm.
And like I said, if I didn't have that, I probably would have had a lot harder time with it.
Mm.
But with starting that up and baking a lot of bread like everyone else, I got through.
And you mentioned your son. How was it for him?
I mean, he was good. He ended up staying with us exclusively, so he usually goes back and forth between him and his dad, and we just kind of kept everything a little bit easier. So it was kind of nice because I had him here every day. Otherwise, I would have been alone. So that was also a consideration in that. So we
Mm.
kept each other company. We have a really, really good relationship. So we did
Mm.
lots of basement workouts, and I got a trampoline for the backyard because we had to isolate too when my boyfriend came home for 14 days. So we didn't leave the house or the yard for 14 days, and that was a lot. The trampoline came in time for that, so that was really helpful. Mm.
Oh my God. So yeah, let's talk about him for a while. Um and I remember a friend of mine was working on a film and said, "Oh, there's this kid, you got to check this kid out." And it turned out it was your son. How did he get into film, and how's it been for you and for him so far?
He wasn't an actor. He had never considered acting, never wanted acting. Although he does tell the story that a week before this happened, he said he wanted to be an actor. So I'm not sure. He is very good at manifesting things in his life. That is his story. So
Yeah.
he was at his Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu gym
Hmm.
doing a class, and the producer and the director of the first short film that he was in showed up there because the producer does Muay Thai, so he's buying some gloves. And the owner of that gym was in film as well. He had been a stuntman. So they were talking, and Avery was listening because he's just like that. And he heard them say that they were doing a movie and that they were still looking for a kid. And he goes, "What? I want to be in a movie. Can I be in your movie? I'd totally be an actor in your movie." So they're like, "Oh, really? You want to act?" And they took him over in the corner and ran some lines with him and just or did some improv back and forth, and they were kind of impressed with what he was doing, I guess. So they gave him a real audition, and we took him in. They needed the kid very soon. It was like a week and a half away, so we took him in that week for the audition,
Mm.
and he got it. So that was his first short. That was called Wildfire, and that film did amazingly well on the short film circuit. It
Mhm.
won some awards, and it was just it's a beautiful film. It's gorgeous. It's about uh, a Mi'kmaq boy who is has a younger brother who is Avery. Um, in a home with an abusive father. So they go running away looking for his mother, who is Mi'kmaq's father isn't. Um, and it's a story of them running off and looking for his mother and then meeting up with another boy on the way. And there's some love interest. And it's very, very beautiful and deep and so many things. So
Mm.
it did really well. And they ended up getting funding for that film to make the larger version.
Mhm.
So in the meantime, when they were doing all that, there was another guy working on Wildfire who was there with Avery and fell in love with him. And he was John Mann. He was producing or yeah, directing and producing, I guess, the short Popsy by Stephen King. He had applied for it on Stephen King's website. He has this thing called Dollar Babies, and you could apply to use his screenplays for $1 and you have the rights for it for a whole year. So
Yeah.
John got it, and he's from New Brunswick and he wanted to shoot it in New Brunswick. And he had originally had a female character is Avery's role. I don't know if you know what Popsy is about, but it's about a young child gets abducted at a mall by someone who is going to sell the child into, I guess, slavery. So it's kind of deep too. Everything he's done so far has had kind of very
Yeah,
deep
yeah, yeah.
undertones.
There's a trend
So
there.
yeah, and it actually, I won't tell you the whole story, but anyway, it's it's pretty graphically violent at the end as well. He doesn't get hurt. Um, anyway, so it's a very compelling movie as well, and did very well also at the film festival. We
Mm.
actually got to see that one at the film festival as well. So both of them filmed at or showed at the film festival. What was it? Not last fall, but the fall before.
Yeah,
So we get to go and watch him 2 shows in one night, and
sweet.
and then after that, another friend of the original or directors also saw Avery in the wildfire. She was just sort of over at Brett's house and saw, he was showing her, and she fell in love with Avery and got him to come in for an audition. So he was in 3 shorts, all within like 4 months, which is all very exciting for us. And
Mm.
then he ended up getting an agent in town, and he went on a couple more auditions over the next year, but never got anything else. So we just kind of, left it and weren't going to push anything. If he did get any auditions, we were sending him on, and we weren't, making any decisions at that point, but just nothing had
Mm.
really happened in a while. And then Garrett and Brett called and wanted to see how much Avery had grown because it had been like 2 years. And uh, he hadn't grown very much, luckily. He's small, and he could still play the younger brother. So they wanted to have him in the larger film,
Mhm.
which he was the only original cast that they kept in their original role. They did bring the other guys back and gave them another role, which was really cool. But they brought in some other actors from out of province, and with all the COVID restrictions, still were somehow able to film
Mm.
through the summer, and we did 30 straight days of filming for a feature film, which is going to be, potentially in the theaters, potentially on who knows what. Yeah,
Yeah,
CBC had a role in giving the money
and the
for budgeting
funding.
it, so I think that eventually it'll, end up there, and it's really pretty cool.
Yeah, how is it for him though?
He loves it. It's he's so good at it. He's so in touch with his emotions. He's very self-aware. He loves being with people. He loves being on set. The night that Wildfire, the first short, wrapped, he was crying because he thought he would never see anyone again, and he was so upset because he was like losing his little family, and then this came out of it. So yeah, he just thrives. He thrives on set. Everyone loves him. It's pretty
Mm.
cool. It's pretty cool to watch from
And
from a
and
distance as his mom.
so do you go with him on sets?
Part of the time, yeah. I mean, I still was working when this was filming. So
Mm.
myself, his dad, my partner, and his granddads actually helped with the travel because it was shot most of it in Waverly.
Mm.
So it was a bit of a drive every day, and he was, shooting 10 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah.
They were long days. So yeah, I was there for part of it. It was really pretty cool. Like big staff, big set, really, really impressive.
Do you
Big
ever get
fire one
scared?
day.
Like, do you ever get scared watching him do like while he's on set?
Not scared. I mean, like I just was mentioning they did a big fire shoot one day. A truck was set on fire, and it was a massive, massive fire. It was really pretty crazy to watch. And they had a whole fire crew there, the
Mm.
local fire crew there to make sure that nothing went wrong. And that was probably the only time because they were pretty close to it, but not too close. That was the only time that I was a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, they're all really super safe. They had a safety person on set all the time. That's
Mm.
required. And they did actually bring in a family actually of stunt people. There was a brother and his mom was there, so we get to meet them, and they did some stunts. So there was one point where he had to jump over something, and they put the stunt kid in for him instead. So it's all good. Yeah, it was fun to
And how
watch.
is
I
it
don't think I
like
was
when
scared very
you know,
often.
when you're there while it's being made versus when you're watching it at a cinema?
Sorry, what was it? What's the
Like, what's the,
difference?
how do, yeah, exactly. How does it feel like for you seeing it made and
It's
watching it on the big screen?
I remember watching Wildfire through the lens and watching there's someone who's shooting, and then there's someone who's doing something else. They're the focus person. I
Hmm.
think that I don't know the name of them. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys,
focus
but
puller.
yeah, I'm always very
Yeah,
impressed by
first
your
thing,
work.
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
your name,
yeah.
but yeah, looking through the camera to see what they were doing, it was
Mm,
like artwork. Um, the the colors and the way that it ends up coming out on the other end, like I just remember looking at Abraham being like, his skin looks like porcelain, and looking at like the background and just being like, this looks like a painting. Like it was just so beautiful.
mm.
So I don't really know what they're doing. They do magic. The cinematographers, and they worked with Wildfire and Wild Hood. They worked with some of the most amazing film people. Like it was just, and I guess they really are some of the best people, and they
Mm,
uh they did a absolutely stunning job. Like Wildfire is like a masterpiece just to watch. It's
mm.
beautiful, and I can't wait to see Wildhood because I'm sure it's going to be equally as stunning.
I'm pretty sure Brett makes really personal films, and I think, those are some of the films that stand out when the director or writer wants to say something and wants to say something that means a lot to them.
And he really did with this film. He really did say a lot. Like I kept saying that as I was reading through the script, and as you were meeting the characters and just seeing it played out about how much he had to say in this. It's there's just so many undercurrents and so many layers and levels
Mm,
and societal interpretations, and it's really
mm,
really beautiful. It's got a
mm.
lot to say, and I think that's why it's so captivating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, it's like I was, I have you here, but I'm just talking about your son. But he's a vital part of you because it's like in your
Yes.
Instagram a lot. Another thing you share is his not skating, snowboarding.
Yeah. Yeah, we
How did he
started
get into that?
snowboarding. I taught him how to snowboard. I think it's been 3 seasons now. So the first season, I learned how to snowboard only in my 30s. But I learned from an ex-boyfriend who was a professional border cross racer at like
Oh,
almost the Olympic level. So
yeah.
he taught me how to snowboard, and I tend to have a fairly competitive slash aggressive nature when it comes to sports. So I took it up fairly quickly, and I like to go hard when I snowboard. It's fun for me. And so I decided to teach Avery because I wanted to have someone else to go with, and my partner has no interest whatsoever, which is fine. And so I took him up the first day, and someone at Martok was teaching him how to snowboard down the bunny hill, and I was watching, and I love Martok and I love everyone there, but like she was holding his hands and like letting him go like a foot at a time down the hill. And I was watching him, he didn't fall once, and I don't think he actually slid down without her holding his hands the entire time. It's like, okay, and this is just my nature, and it's how I was raised, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong because I don't know. Hopefully he's not traumatized by this experience later, but I took him up to the top of the hill, and I'm like, we're just going to do this. So we went up on the chairlift, and I don't even remember how I got him on the chairlift, to be honest. That's kind of funny. I got him up on the chairlift, and we were at the top of the hill, and we started. There were some tears, there were lots of falls,
Mhm.
but we did it. We got to the bottom, and we went up again and again and again. There were more tears all first season, tears, but he didn't want to stop. So I kept giving him the
Mm.
option. If you want to stop, you can. So we went back the second season, and he got better, and he started to like it and wanting to go, got a new snowboard, got all snowboard gear for Christmas. And then this season, something clicked, and the kid's like faster than me and better than me now, and it's yeah, it's pretty phenomenal to watch that happen and to be a part of that and
Yeah,
to have that, yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like you kind of have these two babies, him and yoga, especially this new studio. Um, how do you handle all that responsibility?
I mean, to me, it feels like less than I was doing before. Uh, I mean, I was traveling between three or more studios at any given time, um, teaching, up to 5 classes a day and 20 classes a week sometimes, on top of everything else. So to me now, coming up with one creative class a day, filming it,
Mm,
editing it, posting it, dealing with any, messages or whatever. And then, I feel like I have more time to connect with him now. I feel like
mm,
we have a different relationship now because I'm working from home and I get to be here and around and within reach of him a little bit um, more now, I think. So I prefer it. I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know how long it'll carry forward. But right now, I'm loving it.
okay, that's great.
Mm.
Sometimes and you don't do this often, but every once in a while you put up like a really personal, really vulnerable post on your Instagram. Well, the caption, not really the photo. Uh, and one, what prompts you to share things so personal and so vulnerable? And two, does yoga help in any way with like your mental health?
Um, Yoga 100% helps with my mental health. I think movement and fitness and breath and all of that 100% does, but also the um, that original training of looking at yourself and looking at your motivation and your intention in anything and looking at, the foundation of why you're moving or why you're doing anything in
Mm,
life is that consciousness, that deeper sort of inward look and reflection
mm,
is is helpful for my mental health daily. That forgiveness that yoga allows, that starting again, that beginner mind, all of that is definitely very helpful for my mental health. So why do I share it? Probably because someone shared with me, many people shared with me. That's sort of where it all started. Like at that training, that initial training in Hawaii, there would have been 125 students. It was huge. And then many, many assistant teachers. So Baron Baptiste is a pretty big deal, or was, or I don't know if he still is. I don't teach Baron Baptiste yoga exclusively anymore, but I did for like 4 years. So it was a really big thing, and there was a lot of sharing. There was a lot of speaking out and talking about that. And then Coeli Marsh, I also assisted her YTT 200 level at Halifax Yoga years ago, and that's her style. She has a psychology background, and it's often like getting underneath and sort of trying to understand motivations, whether they're conscious or not, in
mm,
your life, and just trying to build resilience through acknowledging how much you've been through and how far you've
mm,
come over and over again. Um,
mm.
Taking away your learning and then leaving the rest and then moving forward. So just that's that's important to me to then share because I have come so far.
Mm-hmm.
I, you know, I when I first left university, went through some stuff. So I was pretty heavy into the underground scene in Halifax, um, drug scene, lots and lots of parties for like a year straight. And I'm sure there's lots of people in Halifax that say that. I feel like our generation, at least, so a lot of people experienced that, and ended up, coming out of that pregnant and with Avery, and I'm wondering what was next. And yoga was yoga was what saved me from what could have been, where else that could have taken me, being, single, pregnant, dropped out of university, not really sure what was next. So I started personal training first and then found yoga. And I think that really turned everything around for me, made me realize what I had to offer. And so if I can then tell someone else that story and have them acknowledge that they could do that same 180 in their life, then that's pretty valuable in my opinion. So that's why I share it.
Yeah, no,
Hopefully, letting someone know that it can turn around.
yeah, yeah, it is. You read that and it's like, is this that person? It's like it's something I mentioned earlier on is this evolution, and I was talking about your online training, but like it is also part of your life, right? From back then and this
Mhm.
person years later, it's like you, as you said, a 180. So while you share that, it's like, oh my god, that's heavy, but it's like, look at where I'm at now. So it's
Mhm.
it's it's aspirational and inspirational at the same time, because it's like you can build towards that.
Yeah, 100%. And, I also think that it's extremely valuable to recognize our experiences, whether or not, you look back and go, oh, I'd like to relive that because, there was some hard, difficult moments during that time, some really upsetting, traumatizing experiences, right, that I look back on. But I also know that those experiences shaped me. And as a yogi, we understand that and we accept, embrace, love every part of our life, every part of ourselves, even our darkness, right? Even
Mm-hmm.
that side of us that, still maybe craves or wants or, looks away from or, slacks off or whatever. We all have those parts,
Mm-hmm.
to understand that those are a part of us and that, we don't have to give in to them, but we can also embrace them and understand where they're coming from. And,
Mm-hmm.
usually that need to connect or that maybe desire just to escape. Who knows,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we all have those parts of us inside of us. And, even now, I still have that inside of me at times and I have to sort of consciously choose to go the other way over and over again, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what yoga lends me, is that conscious choice. So now
Mm-hmm.
knowing I have the choice, so a lot of people sometimes don't even know what is the other choice, right? So just being more wakeful in your life allows you to recognize all of the choices.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh man, it's always great talking to you, and it's great finally having this happen now. So, but I'm gonna end with this though. Um, Say life opens up, the vaccine, people take it, and things is back to normal, whatever normal is. Will you still keep the online class going, or will you like go back to studios, or?
I'll keep the online classes going as long as I have students online.
Fair enough.
Like
Yeah.
I love it. I also miss teaching in studio. I do.
Mm.
I do it once a week at on the mat at 9 a.m. for an actual yoga class, and then I do
Not
it.
6
I,
a.m.
I no, no, 9 a.m. Not too bad. And then I teach a strength class actually at Rebel in Dartmouth at 12 noon on Dartmouth as well, or on Saturday as well. But I do miss it every time I cry almost every time it's Shavasana on the mat because I'm just so happy to be there. Um, yeah, I mean, I do definitely want to keep the online going as long as there are students there, but the
Mhm.
potential of doing some more in studio classes sounds interesting to me too. So I don't know. I'm just kind of riding it day by day right now, like a lot of us are, I think, and just
Mm.
trying to lean into my yoga because that's not what I'm best at. I like to be in control.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Stephanie. This is great. And I can't wait still while Hood is out. I know it's being edited now. A friend of mine that's working on it said they might have like a rough cut, but
Oh,
Brett,
really? I
like, yeah.
haven't. Someone came to my class like 2 weeks ago and she's like, "Oh my God, I saw Wildhood." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, it was so amazing." I'm like, What do you mean? Do you mean Wildfire, the short? Was it a long movie or a short movie? And she's like, no, it was a long one. I'm like, how did you see that? Apparently
Yeah,
they
well,
did like
you have friends, right? You have friends.
no, apparently they did like a test screening with the
Yeah,
ending or something to like
yeah,
just random people to see
yeah,
what they thought, or maybe people
yeah.
in the video community. I'm not really sure. But yeah, no, I'm pretty excited to see it too.
Oh my God, thank you so much, Stephanie. And I
You're
really should
welcome.
have you back soon. True, true, true.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. If
Okay.
anything else exciting happens, then
Oh man, there's always something exciting happening.
thank you.